side of the track, the traffic during the race, but what you haven't heard of is the fact that Michael Schumacher is a bit concerned about the clutch in his Ferrari. It has given trouble in the past at the start. It was replaced by another make, which has proved to be better, and he's hoping it's going to continue to stay that way. So down the grid, you see the Benettons only on the third row of the grid. The top McLaren is Mika Häkkinen. Extremely good for Johnny Herbert in 8th place. Not so good for Coulthard down in 9th. And Herbert has out-qualified his teammate Frentzen. Martin Brundle has out-qualified his teammate Rubens Barrichello, and Katayama has out-qualified his teammate Mika Salo, who is only 16th on the grid in the Tyrrell. Verstappen has, as we expected, out-qualified Riccardo Rosset, both of them in the Footwork Arrows cars, and Giovanni Lavaggi, the newcomer to Grand Prix racing after his appearance last year, has qualified the Minardi. All 20 will be starting. So watch the lights when they all go out. The 77-lap, 190-mile Hungarian Grand Prix will start. On the right of your picture, the front of the grid is Schumacher, on the left is Damon Hill. And it is go! Schumacher does get a good start. Villeneuve gets ahead of Hill, and Alesi is doing it again. He comes right up alongside Damon Hill into turn 1. Is he going to take the Englishman? Yes, he has. So Damon Hill has lost places at the start. Schumacher leads. Villeneuve is up into 2nd place from 3rd on the grid. Alesi is up into 3rd position. Down to 4th goes Damon Hill, and Schumacher has got a clear track ahead of him all the way. There was a spinner there. I'm sorry I didn't spot who it was, but we'll soon find out. But meantime, Schumacher has got a clear track in front of him, and Jacques Villeneuve, racing in Hungary for the first time, is right behind the Ferrari. That wasn't what we expected, but it's what we got. And Alesi, Hill, Eddie Irvine is in 5th position, and it is a Tyrrell, and it's Mika Salo. Mika Salo out of the race at the start, and he's involved with Pedro Diniz, obviously. Diniz spinning out, and that is on the left-hander at turn 2. And the Brazilian spins the Ligier back into the race, but Salo is out. And Alesi is still ahead of Hill as Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, to the delight of the crowd, comes through to complete the first lap, and over the line he goes. Villeneuve in 2nd position. So it is Ferrari, Williams, Alesi is 3rd, Hill down to 4th, Irvine is 5th, Berger is 6th, Häkkinen is 7th, and in 8th position is Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert in 8th position with that improved Ford Zetec V10 engine. It's much more drivable here than it was in Hockenheim, and he's certainly making the most of it. And so now there is Schumacher. See the brake discs glow red as he brakes. This is the highest part of the course, turn 5 into the turn right-hander through the chicane, and it's a very twisty section here. This was not the Ferrari's strong point in qualifying yesterday, but they've obviously made changes to the car. Pedro Diniz touring into the pit lane to have his car looked at, or maybe to retire. Look at the way, the crab track way that he's coming in, as the gap between Villeneuve 2nd, Alesi 3rd is seemingly increasing. So Michael Schumacher, Villeneuve, Alesi, Hill is the order. Irvine behind him, Berger is in 6th place, Häkkinen, and down the straight towards us they come. Ferrari, Williams, Benetton.
Well, of course, that was a perfect start for Michael Schumacher. He made everything work absolutely right for him on that grippy side of the track. But Jacques Villeneuve did what we wondered. He came right up through, and that's going to be a major boost to his championship chasing. While on the other hand, Damon Hill is going to have real problems, because not just as he dropped back and got behind his 2nd place on the grid, he's also behind Jean Alesi. And the Benettons, Mika Salo climbs up out of his car, up the bank, and into retirement. And Pedro Diniz looks like he's into retirement too. So that's 2 out, 18 to go. But coming back to Damon Hill's problems, the Benetton is not just relatively slow around here, it was a second off the pace of the Williams cars in qualifying, but it's also possible that Jean Alesi could be one of the drivers to go for a two-stop strategy. And if Damon Hill was on for a 3, he's going to find it very, very difficult to get by the Benetton of Alesi, and he's going to drop back. Just look how much that's happening already. Alesi is dropping back at probably 2 seconds a lap from Jacques Villeneuve. And despite that, I really don't see how Damon Hill's going to get by Alesi for certainly the next 20 or so laps, or until Alesi comes in for his first fuel stop. Major blow for Damon Hill's chances of winning this race, and I'd say that it looks pretty slim, even by lap 2.
And just about 1.5 seconds between Schumacher and Villeneuve as they complete the lap. So as far as Williams is concerned, and they only need to get a few points to clinch their 8th Constructors' World Championship here at the Hungaroring, it looks as though their lead man, well, it doesn't look as though he is, their lead man is Jacques Villeneuve. And it's quite an incredible drive by the young Canadian already, when you remember that this is only his 12th Grand Prix.
Yes, he really has got the art of starting better sorted out, it has to be said, than Damon Hill, because he's actually made up places off the grid 6 times so far this year, as opposed to none for Damon, although we shouldn't forget, of course, that Damon's often been in pole, therefore he really can't make up much of a place. But nevertheless, his control on the clutch, getting those revs absolutely right, has been spot on many times. And the problem that Damon has had over these last 2 Grand Prix, and possibly even here, but we do know that this time he had a problem with the amount of grip on the track, is that he's let the engine, as we call it, bog down. He hasn't used enough revs, and when the clutch is fully engaged, the engine is well away from its power peak of 16,000 revs, perhaps down to 8 or 9,000, and he's got much less power down there, maybe as little as 300-400 horsepower, allowing those who've got more wheel spin, keeping the engine higher in the rev band, to surge away, with power outputs being kept much closer to the optimum of 700.
So here is Alesi in 3rd position. You can see the gap between him and Hill 4th. Irvine in 5th position. Gerhard Berger is 6th. Hakkinen is still 7th. Herbert is still 8th. In 9th position, it's David Coulthard, and that's exactly where he started. So he's made no progress in the race, but already the Hungarian Grand Prix is a 2-car, 2-driver race with a big, big gap between Jacques Villeneuve in that 2nd position and Jean Alesi, who is in 3rd position. The Williams Renault matching the Ferrari chassis, Ferrari engine, rev for rev and wheel turn for wheel turn. The gap is staying constant.
Well, it seems quite ironical that Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve fought so fiercely for pole position, or certainly grid order, and in the end it's actually been Damon's downfall, because by being a little bit faster than Jacques Villeneuve, he's actually put himself on that dirty side of the grid. Of course, it could have all have been so very different, and he could have got ahead of Michael Schumacher and could have been where Schumacher was now, but as it happens, it's Villeneuve that's got the upper hand. Schumacher, though, has got just what he wanted. Reliability, we know, has not been good from Ferrari, but this is not a circuit that is particularly hard on cars. The engines are not on full throttle for more than about half of the circuit, compared to 3/4 of the circuit at Hockenheim. But having said that, whilst it's not hard on drivers, it is very hard. Hard on cars. It is very, very hard on drivers. And this unrelenting series of corners with the bumps, if you can see the car jiggle up and down, inside it, it's like being hit with a hammer. It really is violent, and they're going to have virtually, well, an hour and 45 minutes pounding around like this for the whole of the Grand Prix.
7/10 of a second then between Schumacher and Villeneuve, and you saw the gap between Villeneuve and Jean Alesi in 3rd position. Now, we've talked a little about strategy and potential stops. We're expecting 3 of them, which is what we had for the top men last year, in which case you would expect them to be round about laps 14, 28 and 42 if you do it on a purely mathematical basis. But strategy will come into it. How the traffic on the circuit was predicted will come into it. There are so many things that can decide when cars come in to make a stop.